What's up guys, it's Scott here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. Today I am totally pumped to bring you a very special brand new modded build for Skyrim. This build utilizes some of the coolest, most unique perks and spells the modded world of Skyrim has to offer. This is the Vancian Mage. The Vancian Mage studied the magic and the gods of Tamriel tirelessly for years, and now that work has paid off. The Vancian Mage invented her own Dwemer arsenal and created her own magic system to take Skyrim by storm. She manipulates the earth around her, sending her up to the sky where she can send an onslaught of fire spells down on her helpless enemies. All the while, her dangerous dwarven autocannons blast the survivors to smithereens, gradually getting more powerful the longer they endure. This build takes time to master as the Vancian Mage has such a different fighting style, but once you grasp the mechanics, she is unstoppable. The mods used for this build are the Ordinator Perks Overhaul, Alternate Start, Immersive Armors, and Apocalypse Magic. Alternate Start will be used to choose the refugee from Morrowind beginning, allowing her to begin her journey in Ravenrock. The Immersive Armors mod will be used for all of her gear, the Ordinator Perks for all of her perks, and the Apocalypse Magic for some of her spells, including one of her essential spells, Okato's Recital. Before we jump into it, you can find timestamps for video navigation in the description below. But now let's get right into the Vancian Mage's race, standing stone, and stats. The Vancian Mage is a member of the Dunmer race. As a Dark Elf, she has the innate talent to cast Ancestor's Wrath, an ability which causes opponents who come too close to take 8 points of fire damage per second. This can be used once a day for 60 seconds, and can harm neutral NPCs as well, so be careful. She also has 50% resistance to fire thanks to her Dunmer blood. On top of this, the Vancian Mage will start with +10 to destruction and +5 to alteration, which will both help greatly for this build. As for standing stones, the Vancian Mage will opt for the Mage Stone early on to assist in developing her Magicka-related skills. Once leveling is out of the way, the Atronach Stone is the perfect solution for providing protection as she wears robes without light or heavy armor. This stone offers a bonus of 50 points to Magicka and a really useful 50% spell absorption. This comes at the cost of a 50% decrease to Magicka regen, but don't fret because one of the unique perks of this build makes this downside essentially meaningless. But we'll get more into that later on in the video. Her stats spread will be 60% health and 40% Magicka. 60% of health will provide all that is necessary to withstand a lot of damage while still using robes instead of armor. The reason we can invest so much into health and only 40% into Magicka is because of the Vancian Magic perk, which totally changes the role of Magicka in her spellcasting. Once again, you'll have to wait a little longer to find out the details of that interesting perk. The Vancian Mage was born in the city of Necrom, in the Dunmer land of Morrowind. She lived an unspectacular early life. Her father was a butcher and she lived above the shop with her parents. No quantity of scented candles was ever able to fully purge the smell of raw meat from her bedroom, which rose through the shabby wooden floor. Despite her far from ideal childhood and the drab sandy colour of the not so easy on the eye poor district, the Vancian Mage always managed to keep herself entertained. When she had finished her chores, sweeping the shop and serving customers, she would wash the muck from her hands and make her way to the library. It was here her fascination with escapism took hold. When she read the histories of Tamriel, she could live through the eyes of the greatest heroes of every era, and the Vancian Mage took a particular interest in the Tribunal. She was intrigued by the idea that mortals could ascend to the status of gods. She enjoyed reading about Almalexia and Vivek, but her favourite was Sotha Sil. She imagined his clockwork city to look nothing like Necrom. The clockwork city was complex and intricate in her mind. This developed into a love for creation. The Dwemer were magnificent craftsmen, and she spent an entire year of her youth reading about Kagranak's tools and how they were used to unlock the heart of Lorcan. The sheer volume of magic captured in the books she read made her life of raw meat and sweeping so much more bearable. As she aged, her humble parents began to notice their daughter's academic potential. She was very intelligent for her age and social status. By the time she was a teenager, she'd created a small lock for the chest at the end of her bed where she kept her favorite books. And the following year, she devised a small mechanism, more for fun than practicality, which could turn the pages of a book for her. Eventually, she decided to scour the city for mages and alchemists who could potentially teach her more about magic. But as she expected, the city was lacking for extraordinary individuals like Sotha Sil and the members of the Tribunal. With her parents' support and a bit of their money, the Vancian Mage booked passage to Port Telvanus. It had cost a lot of money as the city is usually not open to travelers, but the Vancian Mage was determined. She had heard many incredible things about the Telvanni, and when her small boat entered the docks, the mysterious nature of the overgrown city was overwhelming. The pathways leading onto the mainland sand were carved from the exposed roots and fungal growths, and with each step she felt her boots sink ever slightly into the organic ground. She realized as the city opened up to her that the place was entirely natural. Every home, temple, and shop was located in the hollowed out interior of a mushroom or some kind of fungal-like structure. As she made her way up the winding streets, she was certain she could feel the place move gently, breathing in a slow, consistent rhythm. Once the awe of the place subsided somewhat, the Vancian Mage returned her attention to her task. She hoped to find a Telvanni mage who would take her on as an apprentice, teaching her to be a skilled mage. But the inhabitants of this out-of-touch city didn't have the patience for her and didn't welcome the outsider. Despite her efforts, no one agreed to help her. Her hopes of learning more about the divine magical powers of the tribunal were seemingly dashed. The most help she received was from an old mage who told her to seek help from Neloth in Solstheim. She was hesitant to travel even further after this disappointment, but she realized that she had nothing to lose. It was either this or she returned to her father's butcher shop, forever to sell meat. And so the Vancian Mage decided to take the first boat out of Port Telvanus with her sights set on Solstheim. Neloth was her last hope, but if it came to nothing, maybe the College of Winterhold would help her in her cause. After arriving at Raven Rock, the Vancian Mage will waste no time leaving the city and head southeast to Tel Mithryn. As she continues this quest, she will start feeling confident enough to experiment with learning new spells and powers so she can tackle the dangers of Solstheim and Skyrim. The main objective for the Vancian Mage is to acquire as much knowledge as elvenly possible. Her ability to craft simple mechanisms and locks means she will also aim to advance her smithing, eventually coming up with her own personal inventions inspired by the Dwemer and Sotha Sil. She will even develop her own method of casting spells as her abilities mature. This can be done in-game by prioritizing the Vancian Mage perk. Her passion for innovation and inspiration attained from Sotha Sil will lead her to use spells differently in a unique way that doesn't rely so heavily on magicka costs and regeneration. But we'll get more into exactly what that involves in the spells and perks section. As for factions, one of the first stops for the Vancian Mage will be the College of Winterhold. The teachers and the mages here will serve as suitable mentors early on, giving her a variety of useful spells and skills for her to further improve on her own. She will also follow the main quest line. Becoming the Dragonborn is appealing to her as she feels closer to the false gods of the Tribunal. She originally wondered how mortals could live as gods, but with her new prophetic powers, she feels like she can live the experience herself. Obviously, this means she'll follow the Dragonborn DLC questline too. She may decide to complete the Dawnguard DLC, but that's up to you. If the immortal status of a god really calls to her, the vampire's touch may be too much to resist. Plus, the aesthetics of vampirism would fit the Vancian Mage's style perfectly. As is often the case with our modded builds, the skills, perks, spells, and playstyle section is often quite complex, but thanks to the Ordinator perk overhaul and the Apocalypse magic system, the Vancian Mage will have an incredibly unique playstyle while only relying on 3 primary skills. These skills are Destruction, Alteration, and Smithing. The Vancian Mage will use a variety of Destruction and Alteration spells from the vanilla game and the Apocalypse magic mod. She will use pretty much every Alteration spell that you find useful, and she'll use all of the best fire destruction spells. She won't be using Frost or Shock. Some of the main vanilla options are Paralyze, Fireball, Incinerate, Ebony Flesh, and Flame Cloak, and some of the main modded options are Okato's Recital, Unbound Fire, and Inferno. But there is one of the modded alteration spells that warrants a special mention, which is Okato's Recital. This unique spell allows you to store self-targeting spells which will activate automatically in combat. So for example, if you equip Okato's Recital in your left hand and Ebony Flesh in your right, and then cast your Okato's Recital, Ebony Flesh will be stored. Now every time you enter combat, even without Okato's Recital equipped, Ebony Flesh will automatically cast itself on you without requiring you to do it manually. Pretty efficient stuff. Now let's look at the perks which will make these spells effective. First up, we have Destruction. From this skill tree, you'll want to take the first branch, second branch, and the entirety of the third branch. The first notable perk from this bunch is the Robe of Magi. This perk increases the power of destruction spells by 25% if the caster is wearing robes with no light or heavy armor, and this effect fits the Vancian Mage's gear choice perfectly. Next is Elemental Specialization. This perk allows you to choose one element, fire, shock, or frost, and it makes spells and effects of that element 15% more powerful while decreasing spells and effects of the other 2 elements by by the same amount. The element you will be specializing in is fire. Conflagration is another perk worth mentioning. This grants fire spells the ability to ignite the ground underneath their targets for 30 seconds. This burning plane deals 8 points of damage per second for 3 seconds. Lastly, from the destruction skill tree is Cataclysm. When a fire spell hits a target already affected by the burning ground of conflagration, they will explode for 20% of their current health, blasting them into the air and reducing their magic resistance by 25% for 6 seconds. This effect can only be used once every 45 seconds, however. The second major skill is Alteration, and from this skill tree we suggest taking the second branch and third branch up to Aurification, the fourth branch up to Nullifier, the sixth branch, and finally the last branch to Distorted Shape. The first choice selection here is Distorted Shape. With this perk, activating an armor spell like Ebony Flesh will cause you to go ethereal for 10 seconds until you perform another offensive or defensive action. With Okado's Recital, this will be happening almost every time you enter a new combat scenario. Next, there's Geomancer. If you're wearing robes and no light or heavy armor, Geomancer allows you to take 20% less damage from attacks while charging or concentrating on a spell. One of the coolest perks from the Alteration tree is Throne of Nirn. When in combat and outdoors with a spell equipped, standing still for 5 seconds will raise a pillar of earth beneath you to carry you out of attack range. While atop this pillar, your spells are 20% more powerful and last 40% longer. Another noteworthy pick is Aurification. With this perk, you can use your command lock cooldown to activate most paralyzed enemies below half health to turn their body into money worth 4 times your alteration level. This effect has a 50% chance of creating gold ore. With alter resistances, you may choose 2 resistances to increase by 25%, and for the Vancian Mage, those will be Frost and Shock. Additionally, with alter attributes, you may choose an attribute to increase permanently by 50 points, which can be health or magicka depending on what you need more. After this, we have Nullifier. This perk makes the user radiate a dampening field, preventing enemies within 25 feet from regaining magicka or stamina. Vancian Magic, the namesake of this build, is a huge perk for her playstyle. This is a system that the Vancian Mage created for herself. This perk, recharged by sleeping, allows your next 20 spells to be cast without magicka and for twice the effect. But once you use those 20 spells, it's all over. You will have to go and sleep to restore your spells. The amount of spells you have access to between each sleep will increase along with your magicka thanks to the Quadratic Wizard perk. Whenever you recharge your Vancian Magic spells, you gain 1 additional spell for each 10 points of base magicka you have, meaning with around 200 magicka, you should have 40 spells to use after sleeping. The original 20 plus the 20 that would be given for each 10 points of base magicka. This is great for this build as it allows you to sling lots of powerful spells without having to rely on magicka regen or capacity. The last skill is Smithing. From this tree, take Arcane Blacksmith and then all the perks corresponding to the Dwarven Autocannon branch. Dwarven autocannons allow the Vancian Mage to show off her greatest inventions. You can create them at a forge or anvil, and then when you deploy them, the cannons will fire parallel to your crosshair for 60 seconds at rank 2. This deals 40% of your smithing skill as damage if you're within 12 feet. The Electrobolt perk adds a shock damage blast to the Dwarven autocannon's arsenal, dealing shock damage to health and magicka equal to a percentage of your smithing skill level. Last up, we have the Spin Up perk. This will speed up your autocannon's fire rate by 2% per shot, maxing out at 200%, and that does it for perks. The Vancian Mage's playstyle will involve placing autocannons before letting the Throne of Nirn take her to high ground. From there, she can rain down fire on her foes. Thanks to the Vancian Magic perk, she can shoot off spells in quick succession without relying on magicka regen or magicka cost, so feel free to pump out many powerful spells rapidly. Between battles though, you'll want to find places to rest up and sleep to refresh your spells. In terms of gear, the Vancian Mage's main item will be the Dwarven autocannons, which she can craft at a forge. As for her aesthetic, she'll wear the Silver Tribunal mask and the White Tribunal unarmored boots, gloves, hood, and robe. Also, wearing rings and necklaces she finds with magic effects will help her, as she will not be able to enchant any on her own. Fireball that like button if you liked the video, folks, and if you're new around here, subscribe for more modded and vanilla builds, as well as the best Elder Scrolls and Fallout content on YouTube. This has been our latest modded build, the Vancian Mage. Don't forget to pop down to the description where you'll be able to find links to all of our social media accounts and timestamps to help you navigate throughout the video. Thank you as always for watching. I've been Scott, and I look forward to nerding out with you in the next video.